As we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral lands of the coastal Salish people, specifically the Duwamish tribe, a people still here, continuing to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. Welcome to the 2024 Antioch University Seattle Commencement Ceremony. I am Ben Pryor, the Chief Executive Officer of the Antioch University Seattle campus and Dean of the School of Environmental Studies at Antioch University. Today, we recognize and celebrate the graduates. Commencement is also an opportunity to renew our commitment to the shared purpose and the principles and values that inspire us to persist through change and its frustrations. Today, we reflect on what brought us to this moment and think about the futures we've made possible. Your diploma will be your reminder that you chose a path in which the compassion and openness you bring to the world will continue to be a source of resilience and of joy. As graduates accept new responsibilities and opportunities, we want to take a moment to recognize that none of this is possible without others contributing to their success. Graduates, if you are able, I invite you to stand and face the crowd. Now, graduates, will you please applaud family and friends who have sustained and supported you throughout your studies? All right, would the graduates sit? And may I ask everyone else who was able to stand and applaud each and every graduate on their achievement. Thank you. Now, graduates and families, let's rise together to thank the staff and faculty who have supported and challenged you in this achievement. And now you may be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce our dignitaries seated on the stage. Dignitaries, please stand when your name is called. Sue Warland, Faculty Emeritus and the former Chair of Undergraduate Studies. She is our ceremonial mace bearer for today's ceremony. Sue Byers, the Associate Provost for Antioch University, Seattle. Janet Bell, representing our Board of Governors. Bill Groves, the Chancellor of Antioch University. Chet Haskell, our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and University Provost. Maria Judith Rodriguez Herrera, the Vice Chancellor for Human Resources. Lem Watson, Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Vice Provost for Community Engagement. Sean Fitzgerald, the Dean of the School of Counseling, Psychology and Therapy. Mi-Hee Hyun, Dean of the School of Undergraduate Studies. Terry Ratcliffe, Dean of Distance and Extended Education. Marianne Short, Dean of Business Programs, Graduate Studies. Mike Curato, an award-winning author and illustrator who will deliver our keynote address. Leila Hilton, the Executive Director of the Clemente Course in the Humanities, whom we honor today as the recipient of our Distinguished Alumni Award. Mensima Baini, the Director of Antioch University Admissions, and Ingrid Ingerson, the Director of Continuing Education and Community Engagement. I'd also briefly like to recognize Steve Crandall, a member of the Antioch University Board of Governors and President, Founder, and CEO of Third Reel, for his continued support in the back of the house. I now welcome Bill Groves to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Pryor. And welcome, everyone. Let's hear a little more noise for the graduating class of Antioch University 2024. Congratulations. You've done it. You are now graduates of this university and lifelong Antiochians. My name is Bill Groves. I am Chancellor of Antioch University, and it's my honor and privilege to bring greetings to the graduates and their families from the entire university and its administration. We operate from across the nation, and I'm glad to have with me today a number of folks from the university administration that Ben just introduced you to. So thank you again. And thank you, students, for choosing Antioch University and our programs here in Seattle, all centered around a mission of advancing social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. We know you had choices, and we are happy and delighted, of course, that you chose Antioch to be your partner in your educational journey. I also want to take a moment again to thank the faculty who have brought the exceptional programs to this campus, deliver them in a rich learning environment, and provide that environment for the students that they deserve. So can we have more noise for the faculty here and up on the stage? Thank you, faculty. As you know, a year ago this month, Antioch University affiliated with Otterbein University in Ohio to become a system in higher education known as the Coalition for the Common Good. It is the first of its kind national system of higher education focused on values-based education with a joint mission of educating and promoting the common good. That includes democracy, social justice, equity, inclusion, and engaged global citizenship. 2024 is an inflection point in this nation and the world. Democracies across the globe are under attack by forces of authoritarianism and fascism. If our hair is not on fire at this moment, it should be. And to that end, Antioch University has launched its own initiatives to support our constitutional republic and our democratic ideals. That program is Antioch Works for Democracy, and you might see some t-shirts with that on the front. For more, look at our website for the various programs and opportunities for students and alums to participate. But the point is, we need to do what we can to support democracy in this year, in this pivotal year. As for the coalition, we are wasting no time in searching for the third or possibly fourth school to join the affiliation. We intend to create a movement within higher education, a movement of gravitas, pushing the entire industry to be more responsive to the needs of educating for a thriving and vibrant democracy here and abroad. Horace Mann, the father of public education in the United States, came to Antioch in 1852 as its inaugural and founding president. He did that because he viewed education as fundamental for democracy. And after setting up K through 12 schools, he wanted to try something else, and that was to take Antioch and make it democracy's university. I believe, and I think I know, that he would be very proud of the university he helped to create, and very proud of the faculty who currently carry the torch that he first lit. And very proud of the students, the graduates here today, and the alumni who carry that torch into the world. So congratulations on your graduation. It is my honor today to introduce the next speaker, and it's a great honor to be chancellor of this university in a number of ways, but one of them is the opportunity to work with an amazing board of governors. It's a national board recruited from higher ed, each member of which is highly qualified, skilled, and deeply committed to the mission of Antioch University. They are here because they know Antioch is different. We don't just educate for careers, we educate for social justice and democracy. So in that end, it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Janet Bell. She is a social advocate, a civil rights activist from the 1960s. She worked in civil rights at the end of the 1960s in Georgia, in Virginia, and in Tennessee. She is currently a faculty member at Baruch College in Manhattan and a motivational speaker. She has a doctorate in leadership and change from Antioch University's Leadership and Change program. She is the author of 3 books, or a collaborator on 1 and an author of 2, which you will find it listed in your program. But among her many accomplishments is she has an Emmy and she has a Peabody Award, and which is considered one of the highest awards, or the highest award in broadcasting. If you've not heard of Dr. Janet Bell, you may have heard of Derek Bell. Professor Derek Bell was a professor at Harvard University Law School. He was the first Black tenured faculty of the law school in the 1980s. It is Dr. Derek Bell who is considered to be the godfather of critical race theory. And he is considered to be the person who conceived of it and brought it to the academic world. It is not a controversial subject. It has been made a controversial subject by far right-wing extremists for political gain. Dr. Janet Bell does not live in her late husband's shadow, but continues her own work in achieving a more just society. She is a board chair of the Women's Media Center and serves on the boards of Cancer Care and the Southern Center for Human Rights. She has also served on the board of the Andrew Goodman Foundation, established by Antioch College graduate David Goodman. If the name Andrew Goodman doesn't sound familiar to you, does the names Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner sound familiar to you? Mississippi Burning. David Goodman's brother, Andrew, was one of the college students who participated in Freedom Summer in 1964. He was assassinated by the Ku Klux Klan at age 20 in Mississippi, in Philadelphia, Mississippi. In his honor, his brother had created this foundation to advance voting rights in the United States, particularly among college campuses. So Jana has served on that board as well as many others advancing social justice. And with that, I am deeply honored and privileged to introduce to you Dr. Janet Dewart Bell.
I'd like to thank Pastor Joe for that very generous introduction. Let me say to you wonderful graduates of this university, welcome. And I know you thank again your family and friends who helped you get this far, because none of us gets this far on our own. Amen? While I stand here as a person of hope, I will also lead with some provocative ideas backed by a lifetime of social justice activism. And of course, although I'm on the board of governors, these opinions are my own. I want to encourage you to pursue your best self with authenticity, courage, and purpose. I will give some examples of others who have done just that and remind us to be relentless in the pursuit of justice and the salvation of civilization. No small task. But my cheat sheet contains the inspiring words of others. We Antiochians represent diverse backgrounds. Mine is that I come from a family where my mother was denied the opportunity to go to high school. Born in rural Arkansas in 1917, the nearest high school for Black children was in Little Rock, 100 miles away. She was beautiful, brilliant, and self-educated. My father, born in rural Georgia, was illiterate. He was born in 1898, a generation from legal slavery. He was prevented from learning to read and write. The same with other Black men with whom he worked in factories and on assembly lines. They could memorize complex directions and carry them out. They also encouraged me to get my edumacation. They could not pronounce education and certainly could not spell it, but they knew what it was and that it was more than precious. It was a pathway to liberation, as is voting. Voting is the engine that drives democracy. We must fight voter suppression and intimidation. Using diversionary tactics, right-wing activists and commentators whine and perpetuate lies. They claim it is unfair to hold them accountable for the death and destruction their words and actions cause. They are a Greek chorus for political violence, flirting with fascism, partnering with Putin. They would destroy the America of our aspirations. In their upside down view, they ban books, but not assault weapons. They claim to be pro-life, but would rather have women suffer and die than provide medical care. They would rather our children be ignorant than informed. They would rather build walls than bridges. They feed on chaos and confusion. Their false narratives are built on a political, social media, and legal network. However, there is good news. The good news is that we, the people, can save our country, our democracy. Our knowledge is power. We are Antiochians. We can and we must lead by example. In the spirit of Horace Mann, authenticity, courage, and purpose is my personal narrative mantra and the connective thread of my research and writing. I was raised in the Black church. We were taught the 10 Commandments. These are not suggestions or TikTok postings, but commands to love your neighbor as yourself. The Black community of my youth and upbringing taught responsibility, integrity, honesty, courage, compassion, and service to others. And yes, the title of my book, Blackbird Singing, was inspired by Paul McCartney's song, Blackbird, not Beyonce. It's a tribute to the American Civil Rights Movement, America's freedom movement, specifically the Little Rock Nine. Sojourner Truth is the signature voice for the genesis of that book. She lived from 1797 to 1883 and witnessed America's growth and turmoil, slavery, the Civil War, emancipation, and participated in the beginning of the fight for women's suffrage. Because the lives of Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman overlapped, people often confuse them or conflate their stories, but their contributions were distinct. Harriet Tubman, an escaped slave known as Moses, was a chief conductor of the Underground Railroad. A scout, spy, guerrilla soldier, and nurse for the Union Army, she is considered the first African-American woman to serve in the military, a real Black Panther. Hers is a story of courage and purpose. Historian Sarah Hopkins Bradford wrote about her in an effort to successfully save her home when it was being up for sale. I'd like to read just a segment of that, so we know our history and our heritage and the rich legacy we have. Without knowing whom to trust or how near the pursuers might be, Harriet Tubman carefully felt her way. She managed to apply to the right people for food and sometimes for shelter, but often her bed was only the cold ground and her watcher, the stars at night. Now we only have to show up to vote. In declaring her 1972 presidential bid, Shirley Chisholm stated that she was proud being both Black and a woman, but she was the candidate for all of the people of America. She said, "I have faith in the American people. I believe we are smart enough to correct our mistakes, to have the vision and the courage to make it possible." Her words remind us that democracy is not a spectator sport. Author and advocate Maya Angelou worked with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and with Malcolm X. She delivered the poem On the Pulse of Morning at the 1993 inauguration of President Bill Clinton. Her poem was an anthem of hope, ending with these words: "For a new beginning, do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. Here, on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning." Maya Angelou's words speak truth to power, along with calls for decency, compassion, peace, justice, freedom, and yes, love. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We will overcome with authenticity, courage, and purpose. We must work passionately for justice, to save our precious earth from being destroyed by greed and ignorance, to secure the future for our children and grandchildren. They are counting on us, on you, graduates. We have no choice but to win. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet Bell. Speaking of courage to correct one's mistakes, I have to do that right now. I forgot to mention, also on the stage today is Stephanie Helms Pickett. The second, she's our newest director of equity, diversity, and inclusion at Antioch University. And my second mistake is I accidentally opened her water and drank from it. I'm sorry. Ingrid Ingerson is an alumnus of Antioch University's Master's in Education program, the Director of Continuing Education and Community Engagement, and a stalwart champion for students in our community and for Seattle's veterans. I invite Ingrid Ingerson to this podium for our next introduction.
Thank you, Ben. So I'm just going to take a moment. So lovely to see you all. As an alum, it is such a pleasure to introduce the recipient of this year's Distinguished Alumni Award. Each year, a candidate is selected to speak at commencement for the exemplary ways in which they live the Antioch mission. Leila Hilton is a lifelong educator. She designed one of the first environmental education youth programs in Puget Sound, largely taking place on board an old halibut schooner, the Crusader, that had been repurposed into a floating classroom. I have had the honor of working with Leila on projects in partnership with the Clemente course in the humanities, providing an Antioch education in the humanities at no cost and full support to qualified students. Please welcome our friend and a true citizen of Antioch, our 2024 Distinguished Alumni, Leila Hilton.
Boy, it is such an honor to be here with all of you today. And class of 2024, I know how hard you've worked. I just can't say enough about the courage and commitment you bring to your degrees and your work. And I know many of you are part of this new demographic of students we call non-traditional students, and you have given up time with your families and your real jobs and exercise and sleep, and kind of sounds like you're about to have a baby, but sometimes that's what it feels like when you're working this hard. And I just honor you all so much. And I have to say that I want to congratulate the rest of us as well, because we get to live in a world with all of you now, and we get the benefits of your dedication and your passion. So yay for us. My children, Josh and Anna, are here with me today, and they've been with me, as you'll see, all along. And I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart, and I love you both. And I also have some friends here today who have been part of my journey, and my husband, and thank you as well for being here. So my non-traditional student story started 50 years ago when I enrolled in Northern New Mexico Community College. When Josh and Anna were just little kids, they were 4 and 3 years old. And I graduated from Antioch with my master's the same month my oldest grandson, Arlo, graduated from preschool. And just in time to qualify for Medicare. That was me, not Arlo. Arlo is now a budding young actor, and he actually helped coach me for my talk today. So thank you, Arlo. Interestingly, Antioch has always been part of my trajectory. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and Antioch was a short drive away. And as soon as my pals and I had our driver's license, we would drive up to Yellow Springs to look at the Antioch beatniks and go to their protests and hang around with all these cool counterculture people. And growing up in the Midwest, in Dayton, Ohio, that was a real beacon for me of a different way of living in the world and dressing and thinking and art. And it was a real eye-opener. And then eventually I ended up at Antioch in Seattle and got my BA and ultimately my Master's of Art. And I also got to come back to work with Sue Werlin, Mary Lou Finley, and my beloved friend and mentor, Ingrid Ingerson, on the Clemente course in the humanities. And what a gift to come from student to peer to co-educator with these people that I admired so much. I grew up in a family, I was a girl, obviously, and what was expected of me was that I was well behaved. I always got unsatisfactories and neatness and self-control in elementary school, so that behavior thing was kind of a lost cause. But I also grew up in a space where people were not really interested in what I had to say or what I thought. And so I learned to kind of hunker down and listen and just kind of keep my head down. And I also grew up with my first teachers really were animals, horses and dogs, and books. from my relationships with my horses and dogs, I learned how to build love through trust and patience and compassion. And through books, I had connections to people who thought like me and people who thought and lived entirely differently than I did. And that was my first real introduction to the humanities. In the early 70s, I was a farmer on 60 acres on the upper Rio Grande of northern New Mexico, and my teacher there was the river. The river, the Rio Grande, was not wild there anymore. It had been channeled to move the irrigation water downstream to southern New Mexico and Texas. And the ecosystem had been destroyed. The bosques were full of mosquitoes. There was sediment and pollution in the water. It was a mess. And what I learned then was that rivers need to meander. They need to move along and slow down and change course and double back and dry up and fill up and flood and start again. And that became a real operative metaphor for me. Another one was that everything we did in the river, everything we did on our irrigation ditch had an impact downstream. And so it was no surprise to me that when I showed up in Sue Worland's whole systems class at Antioch over 10 years later, that image of the river really resonated with me and made so much sense. There's been a lot of meandering for me during this time. I think when I finished my MA, I had 9 different transcripts. I've been a farmer, a house painter, a river rafter, a chef, a realtor, environmental planner, and community educator. I've had a few what my family called real jobs, which meant I showed up at regular hours and had a boss and benefits. But I was always lured away by jobs that appealed to my passion and my interest and my curiosity. By the time I came to Antioch, I was ready to really buckle down, though. I found it to be harder than anything I'd ever done before because it demanded my engagement in such a deep way. And you all know that now, right? All those self-assessments, all that reflection. And Antioch really wanted to know what I thought. I couldn't keep my head down anymore. I had to stand up and develop my own voice. And I will always be grateful for my undergraduate work at Antioch for that. I really wanted to study literature and become a poet, but I had 2 young kids. By then I was a single mom. So I moved into environmental work because I felt that was, I could get a job, more likely get a job, and it seemed more practical. And then ultimately doing women's studies in my graduate work. My very first real job was with the Hood Canal Coordinating Council. And I was supposed to write a regional planning policy. And the reason I bring that up is that I beat out people with terminal degrees in ecosystem management and environmental planning, because at Antioch, I learned how to convince people that my experience as a farmer and a river rafter had merit. And so I got the job, and those people with the masters and PhDs did not. That really resonated with me. But I quit that real job because I found this wonderful project aboard this old halibut schooner called Crusader with a bunch of idealists. And we decided we're going to save the world by offering educational seminars, environment, humanities, and the arts between Puget Sound, Southeast Alaska, and Haida Gwaii. And the people that I worked with them have become part of my extended family. And thank you guys for being here today. Then in 1977, I read this article in Harper's Magazine about the Clementi course in the humanities. And it was this experiment to offer free college humanities courses to people living in challenging circumstances, poverty, homelessness, involvement with the justice system, mental illness, addiction, all those things that we call the surrounds of poverty, things that people who are marginalized have to deal with almost on a daily basis. And the humanities as we envision them, art history, US history, literature, philosophy and critical thinking and writing were vehicles to deeper engagement with community. It was not necessarily about getting a college degree, but finding the way to articulate your voice and engage with the things you cared about. And so, true to form, I quit my regular real job and started the first and still only rural Clemente course in the country in Port Townsend, Washington. Now, the last thing I imagined that I would do when I was getting my MA was to move from feminist theory to the humanities, which were then known, and in some cases circles still are, as the dead white guys. I understand that perspective, but I just want to point out that we all know that flawed human beings can have great ideas, and great ideas in the hands of flawed human beings can be used to oppress, control, and silence us. But I wasn't ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I'll tell you why the humanities in particular resonated with me. It's because every community meeting I went to, every classroom where we had courses, on the bank of every river, and every policy discussion I ever had, at the end of the day, the question we all asked was, what does it mean to live a good life, and who decides how we should live it? We've been asking these questions literally since we lived in caves, and in order to answer them, we ask other questions. What is justice? What is our relationship to the other, to the divine, to what some of us call nature, to each other? What does it mean to love and to be loved? These are some of the most important conversations we can ever have in our lives, and this is the work of the humanities. By engaging in the humanities, we enter into conversations that are timeless, where we always have something to contribute, no matter who we are, where we came from, or what we do for a living. One of my favorite stories about the crossover power of the humanities is that a guy named David Galvin started the first in the country household hazardous waste program for Metro in King County. And guess what his philosophy was in? I just gave it away. Guess what his degree was in? Philosophy. Ultimately, the humanities show us that we are not alone and in our sorrows or uncertainty, and that where there is poetry and art, where history can be told and hard conversations are welcome, there is always hope and often joy. I have so many stories I wish I could share with you about Clemente students I've worked with, but I know I don't have time for that now. But if I could, I will tell you how the essay of a Roman general written over 2,000 years ago changed a young woman's relationship to her opioid addiction. How a Platonic dialogue helped free a woman from the moral injury she was experiencing through domestic violence. And how the Declaration of Independence helped a guy find his way back into the community after he had skipped parole. See, I told those stories anyway without telling them. Now, this is the point where I'm probably supposed to give you advice, and I am not really going to do that in a profound way, except to say this. Years ago, there was a catchphrase, do what you love and the money will follow. That kind of became a real thing, and I thought it was really cringeworthy and awful. But I can tell you this, because I believe it's true. Do what you love and joy will follow. That has always been true for me. Just make sure you start contributing to your 401k right away. In my role as executive director of Clemente and teaching over the years, I've noticed in our graduations, what we talk more about anything is love. Love for each other, love of learning, love of community, love of a specific piece of art or writing. And I am honored to just offer you that now. Love, joy, joy in the work, and thank you for your passion, and thank you to the class of 2024.
Thank you, Leela. Mike Curato is the author and illustrator of the acclaimed Little Elliot series of books for children. and the illustrator of many books, including Sunny Day, a celebration of the Sesame Street theme song, and Dear Heartbreak, young adult authors and teens on the dark side of love. For Little Elliot, Mike was recognized with the Society of Illustrators Original Art Show Founders Award in 2014. His young adult graphic novel, Flamer, about a 14-year-old boy coming to grips with his sexuality, was awarded the 2020 Lambda Literary Award for LGBTQ young adult literature and the 2021 Massachusetts Book Award in the young adult category. In 2022, Flamer was tied with Maya Kobabe's Genderqueer, a Memoir, as the most banned book in PEN America's Index of School Book Bans. Please welcome Mike Carrotto.
Hello, hi. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here in Seattle. This is actually where I moved to after I graduated college in 2003, back when Seattle was almost still affordable. I lived here for 10 years. Seattle is the first place I felt comfortable in my own skin. It's where I made my first queer community. It's where I first fell in love. It's where I wrote my first book. And it's been over 10 years since I left, but my Seattle self lives on. I like to talk to him, ask him questions, reminisce, tell him who he has become. When I graduated, someone told me that I will live many lives within my lifetime, and she was right. I've found that you can call on your past lives for support. You can call on your old selves, like ancestors, for guidance. My Seattle self talked to my college self, who was full of hopes, aspirations, ramen noodles, which I cooked in a coffee maker. And my college self fell in love with storytelling. And he talked to my child self about what stories he might like to listen to, what stories would make him feel seen. And now I get to make those stories and share them with other kids who are going to grow up and tell their kids stories, and some of them will write new stories. But that did not happen overnight. I graduated with a bachelor's in fine arts, which is to say I had no immediate prospects. It took 10 years and a very windy journey to break into publishing, but that was my path and I have no regrets. Everything I learned in college and everything I learned after college all shaped me to become the person who was finally ready to share their voice. Some of you are still job hunting, and I want you to take a deep breath and hang in there. Remember that you've got this. Some of you finished a degree, but honestly aren't quite sure what you're going to do with it. That's okay. You're going to put yourself out there, you're going to listen to your gut, and you're going to land on your feet. Some of you already have a job lined up. It's not exactly what you want, but it's a foot in the door. And you're going to learn everything you can at that job. And once you've learned everything you can, you're going to look for the next experience. And a handful of you got the dream job, the one you've been hoping and praying for, the one that you said you wanted when you were a kid. Here's the thing, life is not linear. It is an ever-evolving, ever-changing thing. And just because you got the dream job doesn't mean that you'll always have it. And just because you didn't get the dream job doesn't mean that you never will. But I want you all to remember, your job does not define who you are. You are defined by your integrity, not your paycheck. This is an ending and a beginning. Today's hard because you're saying goodbye to that person who set a goal and worked so hard to complete it. Today is exciting and scary all at once because today you transform into someone new and you don't know who that person will be yet. It's a rebirth. In this moment, you are the mother pushing the baby out, and you're the baby coming out of her. You must be exhausted. But you will continue to be reborn. For me, I feel reborn every time I write a book. And for me, the beauty of writing is discovery. I start with a rough draft, and usually all I have to start with is half of an idea, some images, and a few notions that I find interesting. And then I play. I make a mess. And from that chaos comes a fully realized story. That's life, my friends. We are constantly writing the book. We are constantly struggling. We are editing. We are cutting out sections of our lives that we loved so much, but that don't have a place in the story anymore. We are coming up with new ideas, things that connect with old ideas that we have long held but could not fully articulate before. We are writing and editing and rewriting and laughing and crying and screaming. And on our best days, we finish a chapter and say, there I am. That's me. Every day we are discovering who we are. We are writing our names on the cover of our soul. We write every choice we make in the pages of our heart. And we can open that book up and we can flip through it. We can revisit the joy and the pain and the lingering questions. And the future is terrifying because we don't know how the story ends. And I'm going to make an editorial suggestion here. You can write whatever life you want, but I want you to be able to say, I'm going to be me when you're doing it. You gather up all your past selves, everything you love about yourself, everything you hate about yourself, all your hopes, all your insecurities, your pain, your laughter, your grief, your awkwardness, your charms, your quirks, your mistakes, your love. You gather it all up, you write it down, and you let the whole world read it. You say, this is what I got. And maybe they will hate you. Or maybe they will love you. Maybe the world will tear itself in two over your story and argue about whether or not you even have the right to exist. And they can say what they want, but the fact remains that truth is truth. No amount of love or hate can change that. Truth is truth. And that truth can feel so heavy, like it's going to crush us. But in reality, it is transforming us into diamonds. When you live in your truth, you become unbreakable. You shine. We hear the old trope, reach for the stars. No, be a star. Shine your light. Join the constellations and help guide the people below you still living in their own darkness. And I know it's hard to believe that we have light in us. There were times that I didn't think I'd make it here. Times when I didn't see that the universe had carved out a place for me long before I even drew breath. So many things seemed impossible, but here I am. And I'm still writing my life. I'm still figuring it out. I mine the broken pieces of my past to try to find tools to help build my future. And the truth I am living right now is that I can't be anyone else but myself. When I was asked to speak to you today, first feeling I felt was I was so honored. And that was immediately followed by unease. I thought, what am I going to tell these people? Look at this world that they're about to walk into. I want them to celebrate today, and I want them to walk out there with open eyes and honest mouths. I want their truth to sparkle in the darkness. I believe in truth. We need more stories, everyone's story, true stories, stories that celebrate We need the unheard stories, stories that liberate. Imagine a world in which everyone could tell their story openly and truthfully, and everyone else could hear it, see it, feel it. Would it not be a more compassionate place if everyone became a diamond of truth, a blaring star? Would it not be so bright that the darkness couldn't exist and we'd all become one all-encompassing light? Your story is needed, and only you can tell it. This world needs you, and all you can give it is yourself. Thank you, and congratulations.
We will now recognize each of our graduates and their academic achievements. Graduates will be presented by academic program. Each department chair will share a quote or poem selected by the program, reflecting the journey of their students to the completion of their degrees before they introduce their program's faculty members. Graduates who would like to shake my hand for a photograph should extend their hand. Graduates who prefer an elbow bump should extend their elbow. Graduates who prefer neither can leave their hands at their sides. Please note that guests are asked to keep aisles clear as graduates move around the hall.
I would like to welcome the undergraduate faculty who advise the liberal studies, health counseling, and psychology degrees, and students to the stage. And I invite the undergraduate co-chairs, Doctors Sarah Beth Lowry and CC Briggs, to come and introduce their faculty.
Thank you so much, Sue. Joining us today to celebrate our wonderful graduates are our faculty, Mary Oak O'Kane, our former chair and recently minted faculty emeritus, Sue Warland, and our dean, Nizi Yun, and our brand new faculty, Misha Frazier, who will now read our program quote.
Our program quote is from Toni Morrison. I tell my students, when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. This is not just a grab bag candy game.
Thank you. Cedar Selena, BA in Liberal Studies, Psychology, and Counseling. Jenna Grauman Day, BA in Liberal Studies, Individualized. Leslie Smith, BA in Liberal Studies, Global and Social Justice Studies. Hannah Palos, BA in Health Counseling and Psychology. Javon Hood, BA in Health Counseling and Psychology. Monique Jaramillo, BA in Liberal Studies, Global and Social Justice Studies. Beatrix Valentine, BA in Liberal Studies, Individualized. Alexander Tennyson, BA in Liberal Studies, Psychology, and Counseling. Thank you, undergraduate faculty. I'd like to now welcome Dr. Terry Ratcliffe, Dean of Distance and Extended Education. Thank you.
Hello, and greetings from the faculty and staff of the School of Distance and Extended Education. Our quote for today is from Ernest Hemingway. "It is good to have a journey toward the end, but it's the journey that matters in the end." And now I'm joined by my Associate Dean for the School of Distance and Extended Education, Mary Ann Short.
Sophia McConan? Oh, all right. BA in Human Development. I would like to thank the Extended and Distance Education, and I'd like to invite our our School of Education faculty. Corinne Park, Heather Cheney, and the faculty. After your quote, will you please introduce the faculty?
Yes. Our quote is from Maya Angelou. "My wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart." I'm Heather Cheney. I'm joined today by Corinne Park, Christy Kaland, Emily Tran, Andrew Mitchell, and Reese Brown.
Kristen Rao, Master in Education with Social Justice and Leadership. Carmonda Pearson, Master in Education, Library Media Endorsement. Freddie Gonzalez, Master of Arts in Education. Alexandra Tilly Reiner Beckett, Master of Arts in Teaching. Amy Borland, Master of Arts in Teaching. Alex Hahn, Master of Arts in Teaching. Paulina Hernandez Perez, Master of Arts in Teaching. I would like to thank the faculty from the School of Education and invite them to return to their seats and invite the clinical mental health counseling faculty to come forward. As they're coming, why don't we give them a hand? This is the first group of the faculty from the School of Applied Psychology, Counseling, and Family Therapy. Dr. Cecily Moore, We're happy to have you here. We invite you to also introduce your faculty.
I'm Dr. Moore. This is Dr. Michelle Bird, Dr. Patty Liu, Dr. Lisa Ruddick, Dr. Johnny Spangler, Dr. Shakisha Kostick, Dr. Portia Daniels, and Dr. Keiko Sena. For our quote, education is our passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare today. Malcolm X.
Rebecca Ramsey, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Ashley Martin, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Jody Escareno, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Melissa Filion, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Catherine Ney, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Maria Chalfont, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Zoe Matthews, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Marinka, all right, White, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Jody Roush, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Judith Almanza Stumer, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Alyssa Kingsbury, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Madeline Barr, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Health, Mental Health Counseling. Aaron Prisnap, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Nicole Sarno, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Brandy Painter, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Michelle Tajanko. Yes? Please, Tanchanko. Michelle, thank you. Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Megan Bradley, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Lauren Deeren, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Jennifer Pete, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Peter Quirk, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Earl Hunter, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Natasha Hayes, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Sandy Bubalo, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Coco, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you.
That's the first. Skokma Jue Lianage.
Maxim Zavinetsky. Zanyetsky. All right, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. William Spangler, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Winona Sari, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Yarden Solomon, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Hala Zumrai, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. I would like to thank our clinical mental health counseling faculty and invite our couples and family therapy, marriage and family therapy faculty to the stage. And as they're coming, we are welcoming Dr. Jennifer Sampson to introduce her faculty as well as share the quote.
Before I introduce the faculty, I'd like to recognize one member of the cabinet in particular, Dr. Stephanie Helms-Pickett. Dr. Helms-Pickett is our head of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and she does tremendous work steering our cabinet towards more equitable practices that keep us safe as faculty, staff, and of course our students as well. Thank you. You deserve to be respected and acknowledged. I'd like to introduce our faculty, Dr. Zain Shamoun, Dr. Fiona O'Farrell, Dr. Anthony Pennant, Jill Forsberg, Katie Jo Glaves, Sar Cermak, and Dr. Carmilla Solomon. On behalf of our faculty, I'd like to invite Dr. Zain Shamoun to read our quote.
The students already know what's up, so I want to make sure to address the right audience. I say to all those leaders, do not look the other way. Do not hesitate. It is within your power to avoid a genocide of humanity. And that quote is from our great teacher, Nelson Mandela. Thank you.
Kristen Cherry Jackson, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy. Isabel Johansson, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Savannah Delgado, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Adina Brown, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Susanna Blakely, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Aaron Buster, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Ariel Richards, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Tristan Mills, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Chloe Barham, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Aletta Gonzalez, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy. Ashley Fleet, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. David Fleet, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Kara Haney, Kara Haney, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Margot DeHunt Taylor, Master of Arts in Couples and Family Therapy. Avery Whittington, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Deanna Tostuna, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy. Sammy Callahan, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Amy Johnson, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Wendy Hanson, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Rachel Ham, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Nabi Sunir Supatran, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy. Andrea Benson, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Shirley Chapman, Master of Arts in Couples and Family Therapy. Just take it with you. Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Right there.
Kim Enoch, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Allison Dworkin, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Sarah Potter, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Sarah Young, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Amy Strickland, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Megan Chelminek, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Kristen Maloney Cowning, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Brittany Molina, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Alex Brott, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Jatan Varsakos, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. Dana Christensen, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy. Malin Hartz, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy. I would like to thank the Couples and Family Therapy and Marriage and Family Therapy faculty and invite the Creative Arts Therapy to the stage. Both faculty and students. And as they're coming, we invite Dr. Janice Hoshino to please come forward and read the quote as well as introduce her faculty.
So I'd like to introduce Bobby Kidder and would like to give a special shout out as Bobby is retiring after 13 years of serving as the drama therapy coordinator. Ashley Mason, Maria Kim, Maggie Yao Wilson, Alyssa Griskevich, and Bianca Lee. Thank you. Bobby, and Bobby will read our quote.
It is my honor to read these words from Eleanor Roosevelt. The purpose of life, after all, is to live it, to taste it, experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experiences.
Anjali Tavernier, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Danielle Hunter, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Cody Mosley, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Angelina Monier, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Lauren Sifferman, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Emma Levine, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Iris Chang, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Katrina Van Strien, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Art Therapy. Casey Cockerell, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Drama Therapy. Renee Crean, Master of Arts in Counseling, Clinical Mental Health, and Dance and Drama. Drama Therapy, right? There we go. Sorry, it was crossed out. It's okay.
Adit Foreman, Clinical Mental Health Counseling and Drama Therapy.
Crystal Castillo, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy, Art Therapy. Castillo, is that correct? Trish Hagedon, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy, Art Therapy. Liesel Naili, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy, Art Therapy. Liu Hijikatwa, oh, very good. Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy, Art Therapy. Sandra Saldivar, Master of Arts in Couple of Family Therapy, Art Therapy. Melissa Lucaris, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy with Arts Therapy. I'm sorry, Melissa, I don't know what you're asking me to do.
Helzer.
Okay, Melissa Helzer Lucaris, Master of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy with Arts Therapy. Kara Harrison, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy, Drama Therapy. Corey Randolph, Master of Arts in Couple and Family Therapy, Drama Therapy. That completes our students from the Creative Arts Therapy. We are so happy to thank our faculty from Creative Arts Therapy and invite our Doctors of Philosophy in Counselor Education and Supervision faculty to the stage. Thank you very much. I invite Stephanie Thorson Olson to the stage to please read the quote and introduce faculty.
A quote was selected by Bell Hooks. As a classroom community, our capacity to generate excitement is deeply affected by our interest in one another, in hearing one another's voices, in recognizing one another's presence. And joining me today is Dr. Catherine Fort.
Shannon Ingle, doctor in counselor education and supervision. Allison Bradford Chow, doctor in counselor education and supervision. Lisa Winiger, doctor in counselor education and supervision. Jennifer Cannett, doctor in counselor education and supervision. Katie Schmitz, doctorate in counselor education and supervision. Mark Pilger, doctorate in counselor education and supervision. Akima Wright DeBro, doctorate in counselor education and supervision. Diabro, doctorate in counselor education and supervision. Gladys Lopez Wetron, doctorate in counselor education and supervision. Caitlin Sank, Doctor in Counselor Education and Supervision. Dana Trottier, Doctor in Counselor Education and Supervision. I'd like to thank our Counselor Education and Supervision, doctoral staff and faculty for coming and being here for presenting. And we'd like to next invite our Doctor in Psychology faculty to come to the stage. We'd like to invite Dr. Jude Burkamp to read the quote and introduce his faculty.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're closing out the show. So our quote is decoloniality. It's not just resistance or a posture of resistance, but it's the ongoing creation of ways of thinking, of knowing, of sensing, being, and living outside of coloniality. Outside, or maybe despite coloniality, its borders, its fissures, and its cracks. Kathleen Walsh. I am honored, there we go. I am honored to introduce our faculty. First, doctors all the way down the line. Katie McIntyre, Cheryl Aslin, Melissa Kennedy, Mike Toohey, Steve Curtis, I remember you, man, and Bill Heusler, who is retiring after this quarter. Give him a round of applause.
Manjeet Bath, Doctor in Clinical Psychology. Seth Carroll, Doctor in Clinical Psychology. Isaac Chang, Doctor in Clinical Psychology. Morgan Chester, Doctorate in Clinical Psychology. Tessa Fulmer, Doctorate in Clinical Psychology. Samantha Beatrice Hoffman Hoig, doctorate in clinical psychology. Julie Painley, doctorate in clinical psychology. Liris Salvi, doctorate in clinical psychology. Kylie Swaby, doctorate in clinical psychology. Noah Trantel, doctorate in clinical psychology. I would like to thank the faculty of the clinical psychology program and ask them to return to their seats. Thank you very much.
And now, graduates, please rise so I can confer your degree. Now, by virtue of the power vested in me by the Board of Governors, as CEO of the Antioch University Seattle, I confer upon each of you the respective academic degree for which you have fulfilled all requirements and affirm that you are entitled to all rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. In recognition of having received your degree, please move your tassel from the right side to the left side of your cap. Congratulations, graduates. You may be seated. The faculty will now rise and form an honor guard for the graduates. Family and guests, please remain seated until the graduates, faculty, and dignitaries have exited the room. At the conclusion of the ceremony, you are invited to meet graduates outside in the lobby or out front for photographs and celebration. Thank you all for joining us.